Hello everyone, we're going to get started here. So today I'm here to talk about 5 actionable steps to bridge the gap with AI and inclusive design. And I'm going to kick us off with a little story. Oh, it's not playing. Let's see if I can do it up here. Does anyone have mad technical skills that can help me?
Press play. Okay, Maya, maybe you should try.
Yeah, actually what?
I think you have mad technical skills. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Do you have mad technical skills?
I think you have. I know you have.
Thank you for not putting pressure on me.
Thank you so much. Yes, the video is very important.
So, it needs to play, right?
Yes, please.
That's it. Okay.
Is that right color? I don't know.
For many people with blindness or low vision, there hasn't always been an easy way to capture daily life.
One face cropped. Move your phone down. One face in frame. Hold for photo.
There for one. Hello.
One face and one head in frame.
Look who's here.
2 faces in frame. 2 faces.
Good morning.
2 faces.
First day in the new place.
2 faces. 2 faces. 2 faces in frame. 3 faces in frame. Hold for photo.
Capture life, no matter how you experience it. Guided frame only on Google Pixel.
So, I don't know how many of you feel a little bit emotional after seeing that video. This is like my 20th or so time seeing it. But it grips you every time because it's telling you a story. It's a very powerful story about a man named Javier. Google is taking stories and helping us connect those to the technology they're creating. And that's the power of what AI brings into our world. As I said, we're all made of stories, and that's the power that all of us as digital creators have to bring to life. We've seen so many phenomenal stories today about how all of us are bringing brands closer to people. I'm Blabaum, and I'm the Director of Product Design at Acquia. Acquia is a digital experience platform. You may know us in the Drupal community as being a CMS, but we do a lot of other things: digital asset management, CDP, personalization. But my favorite part of what we do is helping our customers tell their stories. And like I said, Acquia, we are that DXP, but we are also seeking to help you drive digital freedom for everyone. This is so important because 40% of the United States is multicultural. And across the world, 16.9% of the population currently lives with a disability or limitation. Inclusive design allows us to bridge the accessibility gap. We're able to think about not just those accessible needs, but elevate them through usability best practices and using new and emerging tools with AI to help support our users over time. Companies that embrace AI are changing the inclusivity of our digital world. Amazon, one of our partners at Acquia, is doing phenomenal experiments. This is from their conference last year. And this is highlighting an ASL avatar video generation experience. And so what it's doing is taking audio, transcoding it, and taking the human interaction and modeling it. And so over time, what this is doing is allowing humans to have dialogue with each other. One might be able to use their voice, another might not. But by leveraging these AI and ML capabilities, we're solving this problem differently and allowing people to have more meaningful conversation. There are several considerations to be digitally inclusive. I like to start with the human factors for inclusivity. You might be very familiar with these, but it's diversity, language, gender, age, culture, ability, and environment. None is more important than the other, and all together they make up that experience. When we think about digital accessibility in general, though, there are 3 that we can narrow in on. We need to be thinking about users' impairments, their environment, and the assistive technology that helps them experience the world around them. So I'm going to do a quick exercise. How many of you have injured your arm, your hand, maybe a broken arm, broken wrist? A good number. So, you have experienced a temporary disability. or someone you know might have. And something that was once easy, like sending a text or using a remote, might have become hard. And so there are many assistive devices in the world that help us have a more equitable experience. As we're designing, we need to be considering that not all impairments are long-term. Before we dig more into that, though, I do want to touch base on some common user impairments that we design for in digital technology. We need to be thinking about users' vision needs, their hearing needs, mobility, and their cognition, which gets at thinking and understanding. And it is a common misconception that accessibility-focused products are designed for only humans with long-term impairments. As I mentioned, with the injured wrist or arm example, you might only need something temporarily to help you. And so there are many brands in our physical world that exemplify this quite well. How many of you are familiar with Selena Gomez or Rare Beauty? Yeah, she's a pretty big powerhouse. And she has this wonderful cosmetics line. And originally she was designing it with the intent of making it more accessible. I don't know if you know, she suffers from lupus, and because of that, she has hand tremors and has some issues with grip. As she designed that, though, that intention for that specific persona, an individual who is having issues like herself, she actually created a set of products that was highly accessible for the larger market. I don't have a picture of it on here, but she has this wonderful lotion bottle that is about this wide, about less than 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and it squeezes in a bit. And what that does is it lets everyone have an easier time using lotion. No one likes having to grip a cylindrical bottle and trying to squeeze that last bit out. OXO is another brand of a physical product that has evolved their accessibility through user testing. They originally were trying to design a kitchen peeler for users that had motor impairments. As they brought that into the user testing phase, they realized that everyone likes that peeler on the end. The one that's not as pointy, the one that's easier to balance, and the one that has better grip. So that's a universal accessibility choice. That has made OXO the premier kitchen company across the United States, and something that I think almost probably everyone here might have in their kitchen. I want to touch a bit on environment. So the pandemic drastically changed how individuals were interacting with digital experiences. And so we all have to be thinking about how are our users accessing our experiences. Those of you that were just in the room for the last talk about Planned Parenthood, it was wonderful to see the focus on mobile design there. But we also have to be thinking about, depending on the product we're creating and our users, all of the different access points and responsive points necessary for an accessible experience. Going back to Javier, assistive technology. This one is something that is crucial to making sure that we're able to alleviate the pain points that are caused by impairments. I have some examples here in the bottom left corner of some assistive technology devices. On the right, I'm showing a tap device. So we have screen readers, there's electronic braille display, sip and puff device, eye tracking, and there are many others. But all of them map back to designing for these different user needs. So now I'm going to get into kind of the meat of this, which is really like, what are 5 ways that you can grow your inclusive design approach and apply this directly to your work? So simply it's understanding, activation, setting standards, creating with intent, and my favorite part, which is measuring what matters. I'm sure all of us care about the impact of our work, so I will spend a bit of extra time on that one. So first is understanding. This could be understanding your users, your customers, potential customers or buyers that you're creating digital experiences for. We can use those same viewpoints for the digital technology I just brought up, accessibleness, for impairments, environment, and assistive technology, and take a method called accessibility lenses. How many of you have personas, archetypes, or some sort of description of who you create experiences for? Yeah, fair number. We've heard a lot about AI today, and I think that is a wonderful way to leverage it, advancing your personas to make sure that you are including accessibility criteria. So you can take the users you have today, if you don't already have these things included, and add details about them. Pam, the example I have here, she's a digital asset coordinator, works in marketing, and she uses our Portals product. But when we originally had her created, we did not include some of the accessibility needs of a user like Pam. And so we thought about what might a user of a portal or a microsite want? And we were like, dark mode is incredibly helpful. And we went a step further, and we talked a bit about how she used the interface, and thinking about how it would be easier on her eyes. We also then built out some scenarios, and we talked through her having migraines, and how that dark mode played with that, allowing her to have a better user experience. So this is a way that you can augment your existing personas and archetypes, or stories that you're creating about your users. Here are just a few other examples of these lenses, and what I like to do with these is kind of snap them to different personas or user stories. This example is showing some of the technology pieces, so using a screen reader, having high contrast, zoom, speech to text, and this is really a tool to help your whole team empathize during that design process. Our second step of activation is to integrate inclusive strategy into your day-to-day. How you do this? We're all here today because we want to network. We want to be with members in a community that have things in common, and we're all looking to create a digital world together. When you go back to where you work or other people you interact with, think about how you can network with those that care about the things you do. And if you're looking to build a community around accessibility, you need to be thinking about that community of practice. A way internally to do this is also have office hours, create learning opportunities. One of the things we like to do at Acquia is called Cognition Kitchen, and we have members of our teams present different things they're passionate about. So we'll talk about how to use a screen reader, or teach our internal teams different ways to approach creating content in an accessible or inclusive manner. So modeling those things and allowing dialogue to happen. And the last but not least is celebrating wins. When you hit a step in your roadmap, or you improve a component, or whatever that micro step might be to make something more accessible, make sure you talk about it and have a moment to celebrate that step. The next thing is make it a principle. And I think this was a really big step when I think about my R&D team, is by baking that directly into our practice and our ubiquitous language, we were able to all agree that this was part of our process and a non-negotiable. The third thing of setting standards. This one is a little bit less arbitrary. It's pretty straightforward in that there are guidelines. I know earlier I heard some other speakers reference the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. What I have in here covers that 2.2 update. And this is just really that wide range of recommendations for making all of your web content more accessible. So with these web content accessibility lines, there are 3 levels. A, which is that bare minimum, AA, which is standard, and AAA, which is best. And these are all based on what we call the core principles of perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. All of these come together to create a set of guidelines that allow us to create these experiences. Why this is important is legislation. So across the world, legislation is continuing to increase. Many of the laws up until several years ago were really focused on physical experiences. So making sure that users could enter buildings safely, could get up curb cuts, all of these different things. But as we've been advancing technology, there are a lot more digital laws coming into play. I have several examples here on the left that I won't really dig into country by country, but North America, Europe, and APAC are continuously evolving. And increasingly more countries are choosing to adopt legislation as a path forward to ensure that we are doing the right thing for users in the digital space. I wanted to give a few examples here of how you can apply conformance to your everyday work when we think of A and AA. So to touch on real quickly the kind of breadth of A through AAA, A is the most basic things. This is making sure you have alternative text on images, so screen readers can read what that image content is. AA covers features like color, so making sure that you have a proper contrast ratio. And then AAA gets pretty detailed, and this is making sure that there are things down to the layer of even pronunciation expectations for difficult words. So when we think about A, this is really about ensuring equal access to content. The example I have here on the right, which is semi-whimsical with this little tabby cat, is if you have an image that did not have alt text, it might read something like IMG_58999947. And if you close your eyes and think about being read that, you would not know what that is, and you would miss out on this cute, adorable cat. On the right, though, with alt text, you can have a description like cute cat, gray tabby cat. But the more descriptive you can be, the more helpful it is to the user. And if you're including any images or dynamic content on your site that is imperative to the experience, you should probably be writing it out as kind of the first rule of thumb. But second, make sure you have that descriptive alternative text. Social media has done, I think, a wonderful job with evolving this practice, because on Instagram and LinkedIn and many other platforms, you can add in descriptive text, and it often encourages it when you're uploading batches of photos. So for A as well, we want to ensure usability. In the video example I have on the right, this is showcasing closed captions. This is a feature that helps in many different ways. It helps linguistically for multicultural users for translations. It also helps users who are hearing impaired. It helps users who need a variety of different functions. YouTube has built a lot of this stuff in natively, but there is a lot of benefit in also translating your videos using a DAM or other tools to help you make sure that your content is ready to distribute in a way that is most accessible to a broader audience. The last example I have here is about ensuring task success. And this is making sure that you're getting feedback for input errors. This lowers users' cognitive load. Here I have an example of I'm trying to buy some of those rare beauty products I mentioned. And it's just highlighting and telling me what I failed to enter so that I can properly complete my order, hopefully without needing the help of a support professional, or forbid having to go into a physical brick and mortar store. Then checking for accessibility. So I wanted to show you a bit of what like an automated scan can look like on the right. This is using a tool called Cortex. Anyone who has gone through an accessibility check or who has implemented a tool like this, you often get a set of score points. This is an example of something that went perfect. It often does not look like that. There's often red. And what that red tells you what to do is the things that you need to fix. I'm going to breeze a bit through this because I want to make sure I get to the end, but creating with intent. The big thing here is upfront investment. If the building blocks of your website are accessible, you are going to save time and money in implementation. It can be very hard to sell your business and even your teammates on this idea of we're going to take how long to advance the design system, or we're going to spend how long improving components. Well, by doing that, you're setting yourself up to save time during implementation. You're not going to have all of those red X's showing up in your checks. And then this is really about baking inclusion into your design process. So as I mentioned, use those lenses, test with diverse users, and ensure those building blocks are optimized. I wanted to give a brief look here into how you can document, because what's also important is as you advance and make things more accessible, ensuring you have concrete brand and style guidelines. Implementing things consistently also helps users with cognition. And then this is just an example of a spec. So on the left I have a category component picker from our DAM, and then I'm showing the checkbox element to the right. So just showing how all of that documentation helps lead to a comprehensive and complete implemented accessible experience. This is an example of an accessible layout, semantically speaking, always making sure you have that typography cascade that you have with your animations and motions, closed captioning, transcripts, and that the users can pause the video, that it does not keep repetitively looping. And then we want to make sure we have our alt text. There's our beautiful gray tabby cat again. And last but not least, we want to talk about measuring what matters. There are a smattering of free tools in the market that are available to you. VisBug, this is a great visual design tool. It kind of helps with basic things like color contrast, font size, but is great because it's a really quick hit tool for some of the more basic things. We look at Wave. That one is a lot more robust and it can help catch a lot of detail. Google Lighthouse is, I would say, bridging into more of a developer-centric tool, but it is great because it gives you a data breakdown to share with stakeholders, and I found that that one works very well working with leaders. But I did want to talk briefly about, we have Monsito at Acquia, and this is an all-in-one platform that unifies web governance, accessibility, and quality assurance. So as I mentioned, Lighthouse is a more robust tool. This is a bit like Lighthouse on steroids because it provides you actionable insights for you as a creative or person building the site, but it also provides me details that I can share with my stakeholders and teams as you would be evolving your site. We have several different facets of Moncito, but it helps you really work on that audience and relatability, helps you meet accessibility standards, of course, and ensure that content quality. It also can help with data privacy, help you boost your performance, and it is a fully automated solution, so it can run in the background on your various domains and continuously update the scoring so that you have detailed reports to come into and immediately take action. I wanted to offer everyone a complimentary scan, so if you're interested in scanning your site, a site you're building for someone, or just want to play around with it on a free site, please do. Or you can contact me and I'm happy to get you this link later. And then I can't come up here without also talking about my company's events. So upcoming we have Engage New York. So if you love New York City, which I think we all do, like who doesn't love this? We'll have that on October 24th. There's going to be a Women in Tech breakfast, keynotes, a leader lunch, and all sorts of actionable breakouts all about the future of digital technology. So feel free to take a picture of that QR code if you'd like. I wanted to thank you all very much. Any questions?
Otherwise, Moncito is not an open license.
No, it is not an open license. You are welcome to get that scan. The other tools I have in here, which my slides will be shared afterwards, those are all free.
Yeah.
Could you go back to the previous slide?
Absolutely. Of course. And Sean is our VP of Creative in the audience, so he's happy to talk a lot more about Engage if anyone has any questions. Yes?
I'd just like to make a point. I know a lot about accessibility, about the types of, about WCAG actually, that just meeting the WCAG standards is not technically making your website accessible. You usually need to go beyond that. So that's a great starting point, but generally, you need a little bit more. So user testing is very important after you get all of those standards.
Yeah, no, I really like that point. I think I'm very often focused on helping teams activate, but as your strategy matures and as you jump into like these more robust tools, there is still human action that has to take place. Automation doesn't solve all your problems, even though I wish it would.
Yeah.
So,
that'd be great someday.
Maybe it's the next thing after AI, is the big wave, right? Any other questions? Awesome, well thank you all and I hope you enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you.